Our scripture lesson today is taken from the Gospel according to Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 10. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. "Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? When he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost.' Just so, I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost.' Just so, I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." Friends, this is the word of the Lord. Well, how many of you are fans of Family Feud? Any? Just a few? All right. Well, here's an answer. Here's an answer board. And the question for this was, name the greatest rock band. Now, I personally agree with everything on the list except number one. So that's my thing. But now, suppose you're playing, and the question is, name a hymn from church. Now, I want you to shout this out, okay? I want you to shout it out. Name a hymn from church. Shout it out like when the host says, and the survey says? Amazing Grace, of course. All right? If any of you say something like, "All creatures of our God and King," you're going to hear it go, "Bap." That'll be a strike. Of course it's Amazing Grace. That's the one everybody knows. And of course everybody remembers the line, right? "I once was lost, but now am found." Because it's the line we know, and it's a story that we know. You know, so many of us have heard the story, right, about that man named John Newton who wrote the hymn, who had been a slave ship captain, and then he renounced his involvement in the slave trade, became an Anglican clergyman, eventually joined the abolitionist movement in England, all right, and he had recognized that he had been lost and then was found. And that is what this lesson is all about, right? It's not a complicated one. Some weeks we have some complicated lessons. This is not one of those, all right? This is not a complicated lesson. It's about the lost and the found, but the complication is within ourselves and what we perceive as lost and found. Now, I've always said that whenever Jesus is teaching, the thing you need to pay attention to first is, who is he talking to? All right, always notice who the audience is when Jesus is speaking. Is it a large crowd? Is it his inner circle of disciples? Is it people who were opposed to him? All right, because he speaks differently based on who the audience is. And so we always notice that. And this story begins, and it says that there are really two different groups of people around him. You have the tax collectors and the sinners. And then you have the Pharisees and the scribes. Now, the issue here is that the Pharisees and the scribes were conventionally regarded as righteous, and the tax collectors and sinners were conventionally regarded as unrighteous. But often that distinction is too simplistic, and the distinction is often actually less clear than we think. Because so when you think about these groups, the question you ask is, which group was actually lost? See, the Pharisees and scribes, being the upholders of the establishment religion, clearly thought that they were found and the others were lost. It's the tax collectors and the sinners who are lost. The tax collectors, the sinners, are the ones who've rejected the religious hierarchy, and so they think those are the people who are lost. And because they are the ones who are there to listen to Jesus, remember it said that they are there to hear Jesus, they think they must be found because they were there to hear Jesus. It's a real distinction we often have that we often don't recognize when we're lost. See, having faith can sometimes be self-deceiving. The Pharisees were faithful to the religious tradition as they understood it, and yet they were lost. Right? In our modern times, in our current world, a lot of what I hear out there, a lot of what passes as Christianity is actually not recognizable to me as something that is compatible with what Jesus taught. Because Jesus' priorities are often distorted because it is so easy for any of us, right? We love it when we think Jesus is agreeing with us. All right? We love it. We love it when we think Jesus is agreeing with us, and it's a lot less comfortable when the teachings of Jesus appear to be challenging us to live or think differently than we had before. So it's easy to distort Jesus' priorities and believe that we are among the found, and it's the other one who's lost. So Jesus tells them a story, tells them a couple stories. These are famous stories. A lot of people, if you've hung out in church, you've heard these stories. About 100 sheep. So he says, which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99? And I'm actually not sure that that's how it would actually work. Because I think the secular world will tell you that the most important thing to do is to safeguard the 99. Sure, you know, it's regrettable that you lost one. But be careful. You had 100, you're down to 99. You don't want to make it 98 or 97. All right? Be careful about that. All right? Be careful about guarding what you have. That's why I always love, like retail stores. I love the euphemism. They have loss prevention specialists, right? Okay? Loss prevention. Right? Because you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose what you have. Losing one is regrettable, but the world will try to tell you that the 99 beats the one. And you don't want the 99 to become 98 or 97 or 90. And so you watch out for the 99. In fact, maybe in the secular world, they might even tell you that losing the one just tells you how even more important it is to guard the 99. Because you've already shown that you can lose a sheep. But what Jesus sees is not the 99, but what Jesus sees is simply this, that the one is vulnerable. See, if you anthropomorphize the sheep, think, what's the one feeling? Versus what are the 99 feeling? The 99, maybe they're wondering what happened to the other sheep. Hey, where'd Joe go? Maybe they're wondering what happened. But they've got each other. They're the bulk. They've got each other. The one is vulnerable. The one is scared. The one is alone. The 99 are the majority. The 99 are the establishment. The 99 are mainstream. The one is the one who's left out. The one who's excluded. The one who is easy prey for a wolf that might come around. Jesus is worried about the one. And so Jesus says that the decision is easy. And I think it's a lot easier for Jesus than it actually is in real life, because I'm guessing that a lot of people would not leave the 99 to go after the one. They would simply say, too bad, acceptable losses, this is what happens, and they'll hang on to the 99. And if the shepherd actually leaves the 99 to go after the one, if we were to continue this analogy to human behavior, I'm guessing the 99 might not be happy about it. The 99 might be saying, what are you doing? We're the 99. What are you doing leaving us for the one? But the nice thing about this story is that the 99 didn't get to vote. The 99 don't get to decide whether the one is worth it. The shepherd decides whether the one is worth it. And what matters is Jesus' desire. And what Jesus is telling us through this story is that it is particularly important for the most vulnerable in our society to be the ones that we worry about. So as a church, we care about the vulnerable. We care about the different. We care about the ones who the majority will often overlook. So we are committed to being a place, a safe space of equality, whether it is on the basis of race or gender identity or sexuality or those who are neurodivergent. It doesn't matter what makes a person different from the others. We are committed to being a safe space for them, to welcome them into the group, even if a majority opposes it, even if a majority, or maybe they don't oppose it, but they just don't care all that much about it. We have to care about it. That's why I love the story that Jill told about Dorothy. She was the one. She had no one left in the world. She had been, let go from her position as a church musician. And she needed to find a place that was home for her. All right. And it would have been so easy for her to have just sat in that parking lot and been left there. And she would have driven home, and we would never have noticed. But it's Jesus' priorities that have to drive us. And what Jesus wants is for us to rejoice, because when the lost are found, when the vulnerable are safe, that is cause for rejoicing. And it's cause for rejoicing not just because you care about them, but it reminds you that when you're feeling like the one, Jesus cares about you. When you're feeling like the one, when you're feeling like the one who's been alone, when you're feeling like the one whom the 99 are ignoring, you're not alone. Jesus cares about you. Whether the 99 care or not, Jesus cares about you. And so you can take comfort that you're found. See, we worry too much about what the 99 think when we need to be worried about what Jesus thinks. We need to be reminding ourselves that Jesus cares even if the 99 don't. We need to be that safe place for the one, because the 99 are always safe. It's not that the one are more important than the 99. All 100 are loved by God. But in that moment, who needs us more? The one needs us more than the 99. The 99 have each other. The one needs us. So we need to be that safe space for the one. And when we are the safe space for the one, those are some of the most beautiful stories that you see, whether it's the story of Jill and Andy taking care of Dorothy and the other deacons who helped out with all that, whether that's the case, or, you see it at school, those of you at school, all right, whether you're teachers or whether you're parents or whether you're students, when you see that, the one kid who isn't invited to sit at lunch with the others, and somehow one person notices and invites that kid to join them at the table. It may be a small thing to you, but it is one of the most beautiful sights that you ever see. And you never know what difference it makes in that life. When you see that person who doesn't know whether they're going to be accepted or welcomed or cared for, and they're invited in. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a cause for rejoicing. And yet, not everybody does. And so in our story, the Pharisees were grumbling. See, some don't see it that way. There are those out there who are a part of the 99, and what they envision is that the world was constructed by and for the 99, and the one is an afterthought. But you know, the ones who are grumbling, they're the ones who are lost. They think they're found, but what makes them lost is that they aren't in tune with Jesus. They're not in tune with rejoicing with what Jesus is rejoicing about. And if you're unhappy with what Jesus is doing in the world, you're lost. Because what Jesus wants is for us to rejoice with him. Right? This is the measure of faith. The real distinction in this story is not between the lost and the found, it's between the rejoicers and the grumblers. When you see the person who comes to the party who you don't think belongs, do you rejoice that they're there, or do you grumble with that? Who let them in here? Which I think a lot of us are going to experience when we get to the kingdom, when we get to heaven. A lot of us are going to be looking around going, who let them in here? And I expect to see a lot of people who are going to point at me and say the same thing. So, it's just the way it's going to work. All right? Do you rejoice with others? I mean, this seems like such a strange story, right? The woman she has 10 coins, she loses one, sweeps her house, finds one, and then calls her friends and says, rejoice with me. Kind of a strange story. I've never done that. You ever lose your car keys or something? You rip your whole house apart looking for your car keys and you find them. Yeah, you rejoice, it's great. How many of you ever called a friend and said, man, I've been looking for my keys. I just want to let you know I've been looking for my keys all morning and I finally found them. And even your best friend might sit there and go, yeah, that's great. Why'd you call? Do you rejoice in good for others? Do you rejoice? Are you the kind of person who rejoices when something good happens to someone else that maybe they didn't deserve, or maybe you think you deserved more? Are you able to rejoice with them? If you are, always, teach me how. Because I'm not good at it. I'm not saying I'm immune from feeling jealousy or envy or whatever when something good happens to something else. There's a little voice in me going, why not me? All right? Happens to me. Like I said, if it never happens to you, man, I need lessons. All right? But it's something to work on. It's something to grow in saying that we are able to rejoice in the good that happens for others. That we're rejoicing when love and grace are extended to others, because Jesus rejoices when the outcasts are included. Jesus rejoices when the vulnerable find safety. Jesus rejoices when the needy are provided for. When all those who need welcome, who need safety, who need provision receive it. When everyone who feels like they're the one and they're alone and they're lost in the wilderness, Jesus rejoices. Jesus puts them on his shoulders and brings them home. So it's a pretty simple question. Do you rejoice with Jesus? Are you going to be a rejoicer or a grumbler? Because a sad thing about our world, and a sad thing about the church, a sad thing about our workplaces, is so many are dominated by the grumbling. Too few who will rejoice. And where Jesus stands is so clear. It is always with the one. Amen.